The way cars are being built now is way crazier than it was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Because 10 years ago, all you really wanted to do was get to the car show and get back home. Yeah. Now people are like, hey, man, I'm getting a lot of money tied up in this. I want something that I can go drive that I don't have to be scared of driving.
Welcome to another episode of Modify with TrickFactory Customs. If this is your first time watching, we are a custom automotive shop located here in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. My name is Elvis.
Tim?
John.
Haven't you said John before?
Did I don't know. I don't pay attention.
If you don't know, Rob, every episode comes up with a different name. So I keep telling him he needs more outlandish names, but he hasn't done. More research.
Homework.
Yeah.
I have not. I had zero preparation. That's just like in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a simple man.
Oh, yeah. And on this episode, we are going to be discussing the Project Car Triangle.
The Project Car Triangle. I'm curious.
Yes. So actually, I'm going to take off this hat just to get serious here.
Oh. It just happened. Boom.
So this was something I heard a while back. And if you don't know about the Project Car Triangle, you want to get a project car. But you have some certain constraints. You can't just go get it anything that you want. And so the triangle, it's literally has three sides, and it's reliable, cheap, and fast. You cannot pick all three. You have to pick just two. Yes. And so we are going to be discussing all the combinations of that. And the best option if you were to get a project car. And because with getting project cars, you have to have certain expectations.
Okay, but what's your end goal?
The end goal is to pick a project car.
Yeah, but what are you doing with your project car?
Exactly.
What are we doing?
Exactly. That's what we're going to be discussing.
Building a race car? Are we building a driver? Like,
Yeah, we're going to be discussing all of that in this video. That's it. That's pretty much it.
All encompassing.
Yes, all encompassing, because there's going to be a lot, I think, that we're going to unpack in this episode. So with that said,
okay,
how was the week for you guys?
Not bad.
It's been a good week.
Yeah, we just got back from the Driven show.
The Driven show.
Yeah.
We road tripped from here in Vancouver to Calgary for the Driven show, and first show of the year for us. It went really well. We brought the Evil Evo and the Slant Nose 996 wide body, and that was kind of like that was the maiden run for that car.
Yeah,
and it performed flawlessly. It was great. So, yeah, testament to Porsche.
Yeah, we made it back in one piece.
We were crazy.
I was highly doubtful.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't think we were crazy at all. Like, I knew we could do it.
Yeah, like I was thinking, because we literally road tripped this thing. There was almost no prior testing before.
But
all the modifications.
I think you have an underlying association, as do so many other people, that cars that look like that car are unreliable and undrivable.
Yeah.
So I think that's your bias.
I think there's a lot of value in what he just said there, and it's a really common thing, because
otherwise, why would you feel that there was any risk at all in driving that car that far?
The reason I felt that was, and this is my thought, is probably going to be different, because I have done a similar road. I'm not a similar road trip, but I drove my Datsun that I built. I built it in 3 months. I hadn't even driven it for like 5 miles, and I was like, I'm just going to road trip this thing across the country from California to Kentucky for like 3,000 miles.
Yeah,
and it made it, but so I have a thought of my mind. Okay, yeah, it is doable, but for things, I don't know. I guess I expected it, because the last time we drove that, or you drove that thing to the last show, it had some, not issues, but some kinks that needed to be worked out. Like, it was really low. It like almost scraped everywhere, and I didn't know how that was going to handle the road. Then with the modifications to the radiator that you did, pretty much relocated the radiator. I didn't know if that was going to, is it the highest point in the engine? Like, all those little things for overheating, like if that was going to happen, like there was a chance, at least in my head. I was like, I hope this thing is gonna work
Right, and
fine.
those are all valid things to consider. But like, I mean, this isn't our first time going
True.
through this
Plus,
kind of
if
stuff,
you're-
right?
If you're not confident that it's going to function, I don't think you would have spent that much money on it.
Right, and I think
Like, I don't think you should like spend that kind of dough on those parts and those materials if you haven't done your research and have a pretty good understanding that it's going to function
Take
properly.
abuse.
Like,
okay.
I just don't think you would do it. Maybe lots of people do. I have no idea. But I mean, just doing the fan and fittings, not even labor and fabrication is probably $2,000 in parts. Like, I can't afford to spend $2,000 in parts just to try something to see if it's going to work. I
Right.
was fairly confident it was going to work.
Yeah, we did our homework, man. We did our research for that. Like, I was confident that the radiator was going to work perfectly well. You know, even in the state that it's in right now, it's still incomplete. We still need to build all the ducting and everything for it so it functions at an even more
So
efficient
in
level
theory,
than it is
it's
now.
going to get better.
Yeah,
so,
it will.
But like, as far as the functionality, you know, and like, you know, coolant passing through it and cooling the engine, it works. It's fine. It's perfect, right? Because we did our research. We know how the system works from the factory. We just basically took the two radiators and made them one in the center, and that was it. So yeah. Well, I wasn't worried, man. And then like the wide body part of it, like that's a big part. Okay, so like, I mean, kind of coming back to all this, like building a custom car, like I think originally Tim was saying, is like most people have the sort of like this association to custom cars being kind of crap, like junk, you know, unreliable, and they're just there to look at and things like that. That's unfortunately a big misconception, and like it's kind of makes me sad when I hear the term industry standard, you know, because a lot of people just throw this shit together and they have these amazing looking car show vehicles that literally are the worst thing in the world to drive. Well, the slant nose wide body project was not one of those, and we kind of go above and beyond just taking a kit out of a box and putting it on a car. And like, you know, we know through just through our experience that you need to do a whole bunch of extra work in order to make it function. So taking it on a road trip across the country is not going to be an issue. Really, I mean, the only thing that I was nervous about, there was two things. The ride height, of course, the car was super low, right? The slant nose front end dips down. It has a really sort of, it's... I don't know what you call that. The overhang. That's the terminology for that. It's pretty long. It's a slant nose, and we built, you know, a nice shaped splitter and everything for it. I was nervous because of the height relative to the ground on that, and it did touch down many times. But also like knowing that was going to do that right from the very beginning of that project. I made sure that it had all really strong mounting to sort of provide the strength that it needed for that. I know.
And it took a beating.
It took a beating.
I hit some speed bumps that were obviously too big for the car. And in a testament to what he did with my splitter, it just raised the whole front of the car up.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
There's no crunching.
That's
there's
pretty
no
cool.
nothing. It just lifted the whole car the way it went.
Right.
See, the splitter wasn't flying by the roadside.
Whereas normally you see some guys like,
yeah.
uh-oh, that's the end of that. But I mean, how much extra time did that take? Most people don't go through that.
Yeah.
They would have left their splitter or their little chin spoiler in a parking lot someplace.
Yeah. So, I mean, we did that road trip with success. Everything was perfect. Worked really well. The car
And I've been dailing it every day since.
That's pretty awesome.
So we came back from the road trip. So we went there and back with the car the way it was. We came back and we made some revisions. We adjusted the ride height ever so slightly. Tim took it another, half an inch-ish up from where it was. It still looks absolutely unreal, but it has that little tiny bit extra clearance. Now it's a perfectly acceptable daily driver that you don't have to be like super babying all the time. Yeah. Anyways, long story short, it was great. And I think a lot of this conversation right here kind of ties into this triangle thing that you brought up for the topic of today's podcast.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's a lot of value. Like, I have no hesitation whatsoever to drive my car home, drive it wherever.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of value in being able to use it anytime you want, whenever you want, without having to make special concessions.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that what it's all about?
Yeah.
I mean, for me, for you, for all of us
Yeah.
here, we like driving our shit.
And you don't want to think
You
twice
know?
about, I'm gonna.
You don't want to be a headache. You don't want to be exhausted when you get back home from driving it.
You're like, oh shoot, I'm gonna take this road. I'm gonna avoid this. I'm gonna avoid that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it hasn't always been like that too. Like, I mean, trust, like, we've got some history here. Like, we've built stuff like that are like, fuck, man, this pretty much just show only. And like, if you use it more than once or twice, you're gonna have a lot of maintenance, a lot of repairs, and like, we're not about that anymore. Like, we're all done with that part of it.
There's a learning curve to it. You know what you can get away with. That's going to be reasonable.
Yeah. So, and it kind of like, when we get our customers coming in to see us and they're like, hey, how much to do this? Well, you know what? It's going to cost you about this much money. And like, that's relative to whatever it is. And they're like, oh man, that's a lot more than what, Joe Schmo down the street quoted me. Well, through our history, our experience, we know you're going to need to do all of this. So if you want it to be, proper, this is what it's going to cost. Like, it's going to take that. And really, I mean, the end goal is I want you to drive your shit.
Because how many kids that we get come by that want us to fix their body kits? So like, sure, if you can repaint it in your driveway once every 3 months, go ahead. That's totally no problem.
Right? If that's your jam, if that's what your goal is, if that's your metric of happiness in building cars,
but being
cool.
We build custom cars. I only want to build it one time. And that's it. I don't like taking stuff back apart. So when I do it, I want to make sure it's done.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing worse than having to take stuff back apart.
No,
some people
man.
love it. That's their weekends. Like, that's cool.
Yeah, some people
I would
are all
rather
about
be
it.
out driving mine.
Same.
Yeah. Yeah. Fixing and repairing and doing things more than one time, I feel like it's like a negativity.
Yeah, like,
I don't want that in my life, man.
Yeah.
So try to do it right the first time. That's kind of how we like to shoot at it.
Yeah. That's something I'm still learning. And it's been
we're trying to drive that into
and
you
arduous
every day.
road.
Just this is what you need to do.
Yeah, but I feel like I'm still learning because
You're getting it.
This past a few days ago, I was going to go get. Right now, I'm working on my LS swapped 1976 Jaguar XJS, but I'm redoing the engine bay because it doesn't look great. Rob helped me make a panel that was rusted through.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to repaint the engine bay right now, and so I asked the guys at the shop, Brett and Spencer, I was like, what paint should I use for this? Because I want to make sure it's good. And then they told me the paint that I should get. But when I got to the store like 2 days ago, I saw it and I was like, oh, the price.
Yeah.
It was like double what I would have originally gotten was.
Yeah.
And I was so shocked. And then I spent over 30 minutes trying to decide and arguing with myself in my head on whether I should buy the expensive paint or go for the really cheap one. And finally, I was like, I kept on hearing your voice in my head of doing it once.
Just do it once, man. Be proud of what you've done.
Doing it right.
You gotta weigh it out too. Like, there's some things that are like, sure, if it's a 5 or 10, 20 minute re, you can take a chance on a cheap part.
You can, yeah.
Because like, some stuff is crazy. Like, it might be 10 times as much. You're like, I could put 5 of these in here over the next 2 years for the cost of this one. Go ahead, it's fine. It makes sense. Like, we've done it. But something like your engine bay, when's your next opportunity to pull the entire engine out to paint it again?
Exactly.
When you had to spend an extra $45 or $50 on, a better quality product that's gonna hold out.
Yeah.
Like, some things you just can't take a chance on.
Yeah.
Product and labor spent.
Yes.
Sometimes, man, like, opportunity or even desire to pull an engine and all the systems out to do that over again.
Yeah.
Who wants to do that?
Well, I think that's part of like
nobody.
This crazy conversation, because we've caused some havoc on our podcast and stuff. And it's like, a lot of these conversations are based on your time being worth absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So like, their whole argument is this is what they're doing. Whereas I'm at a point in my life, and I'm sure you guys are, where you have other things that you need to do too. So it's, your time is worth something now. So
Very
then
true.
that's where the transition is, and I get it. A lot of these kids aren't there because like what you're doing is that like this
Yeah.
weekend I'm doing this. You're like, cool. That's your the highlight for the weekend. But I got 19 other things
So
to do.
many,
I
yeah.
don't want to be redoing this thing.
No.
Yeah, and like we've been in the same place as that before too. Like that was, man, this is what we're doing. It's gonna be sick, dude. You know, and that was a thing. That's part of it.
And yeah, you put in crazy hours, and it's not worth anything.
No.
Now you got to weigh your thing out. Am I better off working in the shop or mowing my lawn? It's cheaper for me to get someone to mow my lawn.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
Yes.
he's $30 an hour. I could be making $100, so it
Yeah.
doesn't make sense for me to do that. And then, like, once you get to that point in your life and your time becomes worth something, that changes the entire conversation of this car game and what makes you a car guy or not. Like, it's,
Yeah, and it's not always just about the money. It's just
Yeah.
like the quality of time spent.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, sometimes I'll sacrifice for making money so I can spend quality time in other areas, things that put a smile on my face,
Yes.
you know, whatever that might be.
Yeah. Sweet.
okay, let's jump into it.
Yeah, we are diving into. I feel like that was like a whole other
Well,
topic
yeah,
starting.
No, it's all part of the project thing. Like, you got to, we keep saying and being realistic, and like so many of these kids are like, I'm keeping this car forever. It's like, man, we've all said that dumb shit. It's
Yeah.
like, it's not reality. There comes a point in your life where it's like, it's got to start making sense.
Yeah.
Financially, time spent, all these different things, even if it just means, the reliability, being able to take this thing someplace and be able to use it. But, yeah.
So
Let's jump into
yes,
it.
we're
Let's break
diving
it down.
into it. Yeah, I think we already started the
excited.
conversation. So the project car triangle, you have to pick two. You can't pick three. It's between reliable, cheap, and fast. So you're trying to get a project car, but in a perfect world, you would have a car that is both reliable, cheap, and fast.
Yeah, in a perfect world, you'd have all three.
Perfect world,
Right.
you can have all three, but this is not a perfect world, and we all have to work with constraints, especially if you're on a budget. Even if you're not on a budget. For example, like you can have something reliable and it's fast, but it's not going to be cheap. Which is, for example, like, you're getting a new 997 or no, a new GT2 RS or GT3 RS. You can get that. It's reliable and fast, but it's not cheap. And so, what are your thoughts on the project car triangle? And it also depends, like you guys said, on what you're building.
Yeah, it totally depends on what you're building and what your purpose for the car is. And I've seen like a transition in probably maybe the last 5 years, maybe 7, like all these road tours and, power tours. And you can see the difference in the cars from like the transition from like, say, the hot rod power tour when it started.
Yeah.
And there's all these, like, what do they call it? Where they go from track to track.
Oh yeah, that is a
Like drag
that is,
week or something
yeah,
like
drag
that.
week.
You know
Drag
what
week.
that is?
Yeah, so if you look at the cars that were participating in that when it started and what the cars are now, they're vastly, vastly different.
And if you don't know what those are, so like drag week or hot or power tour, like you have to drive your car from racetrack to racetrack and do passes on it all day long. Not all day long, but a few passes on it, and then drive to the next track, and then drive to the next track all week long.
Yeah, there's
So
a
it's
whole bunch of
probably,
different examples.
Like you're probably traveling like 1,000 or 1,500 miles. And even a lot of these power tours are like, there's different lengths to it, so you can jump on, jump off. But I mean, the minimum I think participation is like 500 miles. And like, look at how that's affected the way cars are being built now. Because at the beginning of it, what did you see? You saw like solid beam front axle 32 Fords with 671 blowers and all this type of stuff. And like now the stuff that you're seeing is like, there's guys running 1,000 horsepower blown LS 67 Camaros that are like, they're crazy, but they're going the whole distance. They're not breaking down. They're having a good time, but it's not cheap.
No.
Like, it's not cheap at all.
No.
They got AC, they got all the things, and it's like the way cars are being built now is way crazier than it was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Because 10 years ago, all you really wanted to do was get to the car show and get back home. Now people are like, hey, man, I'm getting a lot of money tied up in this.
You might
I want
as
something
well
that I can go drive
it.
that I don't have to be scared of driving. So I think the transition is a lot different. I think a lot of these young kids with these Hondas is like, they're the modern hot rodders of this era.
Yeah.
And they're building cars for the same purpose. I just need to get here, do my thing, and then just get home. That's all I care about. Whereas like as you get older and you get more money invested, you want to have more, like they're calling you not a car guy. Like you're not a car guy because you don't want to do 7 seconds. It's like, no, that's the opposite. I actually want to spend more time in my car enjoying my investment, whether or not it was a good one or not. I want to be using this more because the value I'm extracting from the car is its actual use.
Oh, okay.
Whereas these kids, it's like you're not getting the use that you paid for.
No.
But they're not putting a lot of money in it. So then that's, again, the fucking fast and cheap. That's cool. And the hot rods used to be like that. They'd be unreliable. They were expensive and unreliable. So I think things have changed a lot. Like people's attitudes towards stuff is a lot different now.
Mm-hmm. Fast and cheap. That's so funny. Yeah, fast and cheap. But like we mentioned in the previous episode, or one of the previous episodes, for how long is it going to be fast and cheap?
Yeah.
Well, I think it starts out, if you're doing fast, cheap, that's the way it starts. And then if you get addicted to that, then it starts getting expensive because you're trying to make it more reliable. And that's when you got to start spending real money.
Yeah, so not just to hate on Hondas, but like even like an LS engine, like fast and cheap in the Project Triangle, fast and cheap. You could throw a eBay turbo kit onto your LS, bone stock, and make crazy power. It's not going to be as reliable.
No.
But it'd
It's
be
not gonna
fast
last
and it'll
long.
be cheap.
We're literally
Right?
doing it. So before anybody even hates on us, we
Yeah.
literally did
Yeah.
that exact thing.
Yeah.
But like I comment back to so many of these kids, I'm not driving that thing any further than I'm willing to pay to have it towed home.
Exactly.
Yeah, and if you don't know what we're doing, we are building. It's called the Lamborghini Euroho. It's a Lamborghini Urus with a Lamborghini Urus body with a Chevy Tahoe, and we're combining that to make the Lamborghini Euroho. And we also twin turboed the Tahoe as
Yeah.
well. So we're doing a body swap on it. We're going to take the body off the Tahoe
Yeah.
and put the Lambo body on
Yeah.
the chassis. And we've done a twin turbo kit.
Yeah.
We've not had it dynoed, but we have had it. We're on a base tune now, and it makes good
It rips.
power. It makes good power.
Yeah.
We still have some things to sort out, but you're not going to be driving that every day.
No, I mean it's going to be fine, but its purpose in life is a little bit different than like so. Its purpose in life doesn't require it to be as reliable as, you know, if its purpose was
street
any
car.
different.
Yeah.
Like if it was a street car or somebody that's going to like travel long distance in it, you know, that reliability's got to be higher, right? So then that Project Triangle starts to shift.
Yeah.
Right.
So maybe don't put a turbo in it and just drive it as is, as the LS engine is, or you do the opposite and add the turbo, but then you have to add other things. If you're driving it on the street, you have to make it streetable, reliable. Have to add stronger, I don't know, all the stuff like rocker arms and
It's gonna break.
rods, all of these little things.
We know it's gonna break.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we know that.
Yeah.
We know
So
that.
probably the first thing to go is either gonna be the diff or the trans. I would say the trans will probably go first because we can't get it to hook up hard enough to break the diff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
and that's in the state that it's in right
Yeah.
now. Like, and you got to follow along with this project series if you want to kind of know more about that. But
But those 170-pound, 40-inch tires, that's
Ooh,
when
ew.
we're gonna start breaking axles.
we're gonna break all
Top line.
kinds of shit. Then. Yeah,
Yeah. I have
but like that's a very inexpensive turbo kit. The parts on it are like there's no branding. They're junk.
Yeah.
Like they are legit junk.
and so it might fail at any time too.
Yeah. So like we know that because I mean comparing that to, on the other hand, say the Evil Evo, which has a fully built Texas speed engine, precision turbos, like all of the premium parts, an entirely different animal built to a higher standard. It's going to be way, way, way more reliable than
Yeah.
what the Lamborghini
Yeah.
engine, you know, is.
Plus, it can produce 1,000 horsepower all the time.
Yeah,
Crazy.
I
I
don't
mean,
have to turn the boost down. I don't got to put a different map in. I don't got to do nothing. I can drive it reliably at 1,000 horsepower.
yeah.
And so that reliability, what did it cost you?
Yeah, yeah, like it's a
And
small
anybody
fortune,
that says
right?
that they can do it cheaper, like again, I keep going back to like, sure, you can make 1,000 horsepower, but it's a lot different than having 1,000 horsepower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can go on a dyno and make 1,000 horsepower and run massive boost and meth and E85 and all that stuff, but you're not driving around like that. You can't. And those guys change their tune, which is why they got to have a laptop with them all the time.
Yeah.
I don't need to have a laptop with me. I can just set it at 1,000 and
Send it
across country if I want to.
Yeah.
And it'll do it.
Yeah, because we could make 1,000 horsepower with the Lambo Lay as well.
Yeah,
True.
but
Like we could,
we're not going to go
but we're
that
not.
far.
We're not. It's gonna leave us stranded. I'm sure right away.
But
There's
I mean-
plenty of proof out there that will say the exact
But-
same thing.
That's the other side of it. It's like everyone sort of gravitates to that one guy.
Yeah.
The one guy, and we literally are aware of that guy. Like he's got 40, 50, 60 passes on a stock bottom end, and he's making 1,600 horsepower. He's one guy.
Yeah.
How many thousands of guys tried to do the same thing and didn't get one pass?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that one guy, like I'm sure he's been through many other iterations of that same build.
And he's that guy.
And
Like,
this one's a unicorn.
yeah, he's got it to a point where he just drops a rod out, puts a new one in, and
Yeah.
sends
Yeah.
it.
Sends
So
it.
who wants to do that? And who's that capable of being able to do that on a whim?
And what I've found with the Euroho now is that it, like, the thought of it blowing up is always at the back of my mind. I'm like, every time I hear a noise or a sound, I'm like, what
Yeah.
just happened? No.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And so you don't have that peace of mind that comes with if you were to just pay the money and have a fully built engine that can withstand all that horsepower. I feel like you have a peace of mind and it's like, okay, this is meant to do this. You're not stretching its legs or taking it out of its comfort zone. So,
Well, it's the same as my motor or that big blown Wagner motor.
yeah.
If I heard a hiccup out of it, I'd be probably on the phone like almost instantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you have that recourse. But that motor, if it windows the block, like, you got nobody
The
to call.
Tahoe?
It's like,
Yeah.
you
No.
deserve it. You did this to
Yeah.
yourself.
It was a perfectly reliable family car and look what you did to it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Well
you're,
done.
You're literally living on borrowed time.
Yeah. And so we've done fast and cheap. Have we done reliable? Yeah, we've done reliable and fast. But fast and no,
Fast and cheap.
we've done
I
fast
don't-
and cheap.
I don't know. Reliable?
Fast and reliable.
Yeah.
That would be the other one.
I
Yeah,
would say our most
fast and
reliable stuff that comes out of here is like 450 to 500 horsepower. You never see those guys again. And you can do it relatively cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I mean that's a big sort of thing. Like I think about like, you know, in the world that we're in now in our industry, like LS swapping classic muscle cars. Like that's a thing that's happening all around the world. Everybody's doing it. The formula just works because it is fast and cheap, relatively speaking.
And you're
It
not
is.
pushing it very hard.
Yeah. As long as you're like, if you think like, you know, an LS3, you use that as the example, you know, bone stock LS3, 400-ish horsepower. That's pretty fast. You know, it's relatively cheap
Yeah.
And reliable.
and reliable. It's kind of got all the things. I mean, if you want more out of it, you can get more.
Yeah.
You start shifting your balances here a little bit on that triangle.
Yeah. And so what about, I'm actually wondering, because I started to think about this as we were talking, but I'm like, what are some, because we were talking about the triangle, cheap and reliable. Are there any cheap and reliable cars that are still fun today?
As they come, let's
Yeah,
say
like for
let's say
sale
like a
today.
C5 or C6 Corvette would be like right away to me, like there you go. That's relatively cheap, good reliable car that's fucking fast.
Oh, that's so
And,
that
like
is-
if you think about that, like that's why you see so much of it in racing bodies nowadays. Like I know they're coming on hard in the drift scene. You know, people are using them in time attack and stuff like that. Like I don't, you know, you see it all the time.
Well, it's
Everybody
just
says the
such
same
a
thing.
Easy platform.
Yeah.
too.
And, you know, unfortunately, because of that popularity, now they're not as cheap, but great car.
Yeah. So I guess you technically can have cheap, reliable, and fast. If you're looking at like a C5 Corvette, for
Depends
example.
on what kind of money you're spending.
That is true.
You gotta
So
put a
that
dollar
the
figure
price
to that.
is
Yeah.
relative.
Or if we're in the $5,000 game, then it's a lot more difficult to achieve. But if you got, say, $15,000 to spend, then that gets you into some of those, C5 Corvettes, Mustangs, a couple of cars like that, and then obviously you go from there, and it's all relative to what you're willing to spend and what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. You have to know, like, what's the end goal?
So, like, the cheapest possible platform to make power with is, of course, going to be the Honda. Like, it's literally unbeatable for what it is.
Price to performance.
Price to performance, but...
Not an LS?
No, I don't think so.
Really? Well, why did my voice just go that high?
Yeah, you're like, what?
Wait,
You heard
why?
this here, folks.
No, I'd say, okay, LSs are cheap and probably make more power, but I think the power increases in the Honda, like the jump that you could achieve for less money and a lot more dramatic, is the Honda wins.
Oh, shoot.
Because you're going to go from like 200 horsepower to 500 horsepower for a relatively small amount of money.
Oh.
Whereas an LS is you're going to go from like 350 to 500 is fairly inexpensive, but if you want to go to 750, now you got to start spending real money. You want to go to 1,000 and it's even more again. So I'd say the cost that it almost doubles each time you want to take that next step.
Yeah.
Whereas a Honda, you can get to that 500 for relatively inexpensive, but even that platform, the next jump, there doesn't seem to be that middle jump there, because then you got to go all the way to 1,000.
Yeah.
Like how many thousands of comments did we get? I don't see a lot of guys running the 600 to 700. It's either you're running 500 on stock stuff, and then you got to make the jump to big boy stuff, and then you're 8,000, 9,000, but then you're spending real money. Then it's not cheap anymore.
No.
So I'd say the most dramatic power increase is probably in the Honda platform.
Wow.
I almost got to wonder, like, thinking about that power increase in that platform, is it going to be as reliable, though? Like, because I think a lot of times people don't really think about all the supporting stuff that goes along with that. Like, are we talking about Honda stuff again? Like, these are econo cars. They're not made for performance. They were never designed for that. But an LS platform, like the transmission, the rear ends, and things like that, typically are capable of holding a lot more right from the get-go.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
But I mean, just for the conversation always seems to be just about power.
Yeah, always.
So just about power.
It's like it's so much more than that.
And then you get a lot of these kids that seem to have this power to weight ratio thing in their head because they've listened to guys talk about Bugattis and all this kind of stuff, and they think it applies the same to a Honda Civic, and it doesn't. And if you can't plant the power, you can't make it hook up, it's wasted power.
Yeah.
You've literally wasted your money. So then the secondary argument is like, well, you never heard of an all-wheel drive? You're like, well, yeah, but then now you don't have a Civic anymore. Now you're spending more money. You're not just pulling like, oh, it's $1,500. You're not just pulling a stock rear end out of a CRV and tossing it in your Civic. Because
no, it's not going to take the power.
And if you do that, I mean, you just have to know that there's a limit to what it can handle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you look at some of these, because of course I had to, everyone's citing different race shops, and I looked into it, and it's like your motor, you can get a built long block 100% that makes an insane amount of power for $10,000. But if you look at what it costs to get your transmission, not even built, just to buy the internals for your transmission to hold that 1,000 horsepower, it's almost exactly as much as the engine.
Crazy.
And then you got to build your all-wheel drive system. It needs a gear set. It needs half shafts, all this stuff to hold it. So it gets expensive really fast. So like this idea that you can just throw 1,000 horsepower in, if you throw 1,000 horsepower in a front-wheel drive car, you're wasting like 600 of it.
Yeah.
And you guys can, whatever, send the links. I want.
It's just going to be like a dog trying to get traction. Go.
Yeah.
Nope, I can't go.
Yeah, there's so much more to it than just the number itself. Like it's everything, every supporting piece.
And this applies to everything. Like we just watched the video of a guy with, I don't know, some 40 Chev with a big blown motor in it, park it into the side of the trailer because he's got tires that he's probably had on that car for 10 years, brakes, suspension, but he's got a big motor and a nice paint job, and look how it turned out for him.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm not just hating on Hondas. It's like, you got to build the whole thing together. You can't just do one.
Yeah, so some vehicles are just better suited to that level of build than others. Some require less effort, less conscious thought, and less financial investment than others.
And then we talked about BMWs. which was another, like,
Yep.
they have heavy brand loyalty.
Yep.
But the jumping off point with them is the N54 platform. The N54 platform, you're not starting out with a cheap car.
No.
It's an expensive car. So sure, you can make a lot of power for a relatively little amount of money, like 3, 4, 5 grand, everyone's quoting, but you're starting even in a used platform and with like a $30,000 car.
No, the N54 is not that bad.
Well, if you get an older one, like
Yeah.
when did they start? 08?
Yeah, like if you get an older one, yeah, like it's not that bad. It's like less, about
What's
10
the
grand
reliability of starting putting 800 horsepower
on a high
through
mileage,
almost a 20-year-old car?
That's true. Yeah,
Like there's all these extra considerations. So yeah, you can be like, oh, I got my 2018 N54, makes 700 horsepower. Yeah, it'll probably do it for a while, 100%. If you got a foot 08 with 300,000 kilometers on it, you just jam 750 horsepower into it, it's probably not going to last.
No.
There's just too many variables. Like, was it serviced well? Was it all these things? Because you can't just go do it.
Yeah. Like in my mind, I'm visualizing this project triangle. Like it's constantly shifting.
Yeah.
2008 to 2013 is entirely different. How was the history?
Well, 08
That
to
is true.
18, 19,
18,
there's
19,
all these
yeah.
different
Well,
things.
yeah.
Because even within that range, the transmissions have changed, the drive system has changed. There's all these different things. So like if you got a base model 335 and then now you got some all-wheel drive, of course it's going to run fast. But for how long?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's no consideration. Like then they're like, oh, you're a fucking idiot because this. It's like, well, if you have an N54, you're probably not going to swap it. So it's not even part of the conversation.
True.
Yeah.
But I would say in this whole thing, if I had to choose a car,
I was
I would
gonna ask
probably
you.
say the C5 Corvette.
Really? Okay.
It's probably the cheapest, easiest, best platform that you can buy right now.
Hmm.
It's not the most attractive out of all the
No.
Corvettes, but I mean, if you want something fast, cheap, reliable, that has an immense amount of potential,
Yeah.
you can't beat a C5 or C6 Corvette.
Wow. So that's one car that beats. No,
I
but
don't even like Corvettes at all. I'm just saying, if all I had was $15,000 or $16,000 and I was out to buy a car, that would be the car that I buy.
Wow, that's high praise. I was gonna say it beats the Triangle, but again, it depends on how much you have to spend.
Yeah.
Because 15,000 for some people, that's like not even in their budget range, too.
Yeah, 100%.
Well,
So-
yeah, that's just it. I mean, you have to know what you're trying to get out of it, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you got to save your money.
And then even if you're spending $5,000 and you're buying one of these platforms that has huge potential, like one of these BMWs, which I love them, they look great, like they're cool cars, but they're expensive to maintain.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you bought one that hasn't been maintained well, this is why they end up with LSs in them.
Yeah. Now you have to pay BMW prices. It's not. That's what people don't realize too. Because even if you buy, for example, I've been looking at. I'm not gonna buy it, but I've been looking at just lusting after the first gen Aston Martin V8 Vantages, and they are one of the most beautiful cars ever made. And you can get them in the States for like 30 grand, 35 grand, 40 grand. But the maintenance on that, like if you're paying, you're going to do some of the work, but a lot of the parts are still Aston Martin expensive.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, and we can attest to it directly. He's got an M5, so we're not BMW haters.
Yeah.
No, I love
I have a
BMWs.
CLS
for sure.
55 AMG, and like you can buy them for relatively cheap money. They're like maybe 30, 35 grand right now. But when you go to buy parts for it, they still treat it like it's a 140 grand
Yep.
car. Like, I needed a new steering rack. They wanted $6,000 for it. It's like,
For steering
Yeah.
rack.
yeah. So it's like, I mean, the reality of some of those things. And when people buy those cars, like, I could buy this for this much, you're like, okay, but it's going to cost you real money to maintain it.
Yeah, the underlying part of it is like at some point in time, you might have to invest a lot more money,
Yeah.
like for something so simple.
Yeah.
Like simple stuff. My brake rotors are $2,000 a piece.
Yeah,
Wait, whoa. A piece?
A piece.
Is it
That's-
carbon?
No, they're 2-piece AMG big
A
performance
piece?
pack rotors. Yeah.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Oh my god.
That's what the aftermarket's all about.
Yo.
Yeah, you hit them up.
So if you want to go buy the original AMG Mercedes rotors, they're expensive.
What does the aftermarket one go for?
I don't even know if you can get one for it, actually. To
No
be
way.
honest.
That's impossible. They have to make an
No,
aftermarket.
They
for
literally
this car.
made like so few of those that. So the AMG spec model came with big brakes, but there was like a special box you could check to get even bigger performance package.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's what
And-
yours
Of
came.
course,
That's
that's
what
what he
mine
has on his.
So, but they only sold like literally like 30 of those cars.
yeah.
And so, yeah, you can get it cheap, 100%, but it's not cheap to maintain.
No,
Shoot.
no.
So,
Yeah.
that's part of the, that plays into the triangle. So, yeah, you go buy this thinking you're going to, but it's not cheap. It's not
Yep.
cheap to maintain.
No.
So what you gotta do is you gotta hit up a shop like our shop or any other shop that has the capabilities, and maybe you're making your own custom 2-piece brake rotors. That's not unheard of. You just
You can
you just,
spec
you
them,
just
you can buy
design it, CNC machine. The whole center section. Put whatever exterior friction surface ring on there
that's
you
another
want.
part of it is a lot
and you
of
do whatever you
times
want.
You can go to an aftermarket supplier of whatever brand, and it's sometimes cheaper than buying the OEM parts.
Yeah.
Crazy to me.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty awesome.
But I mean, that's a completely different level of car, and we kind of went off on the side. But there's tiers to it, and what you're buying, and what it's actually going to cost you to modify and make it better, and what it's going to cost you to maintain.
Yeah.
But some people apparently don't care.
Yeah. So again, just to reiterate before we close, C5 Corvette
I think
is
it's
going to
the
be
best
your
bang
pick.
for the buck.
Really? C5 Corvette as well, or no?
No, I mean, I believe that's a super solid choice,
Okay.
right? Like, I feel like that's awesome. I don't know, like, so I've never owned one of these cars, but I feel like it's probably pretty high up there on the list. Maybe not as powerful, but something like a Miata.
Okay, so you still have the cheap and you have reliable.
Yeah,
But it's not going to be fast.
And depending on what your intended purpose, if you want to have a track car, man, a Mazda Miata is pretty
Yeah.
hard to beat because it's cheap, it's reliable, and man, if you got big enough balls, it's pretty fast on the track too. Because you got a legit fucking you're hanging it out in the corner.
But that's where you're placing your value. That's a completely different
Yeah.
set of values than what seems to be the norm is just quarter mile times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and
So if
that's
you're putting it
North
up against quarter
American
mile
stuff,
times,
right?
It doesn't make sense at all because it's, what it's going to cost you to make that platform go fast in quarter mile, people are going to think is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to drive it and you want to drive it fast, which was kind of like our last podcast, is like what's fun, that's going to be the best. You can
Yeah.
drive it to the track, you can drive it home. It's cheap to run, it's cheap to maintain.
I think a lot of people might say things like Hondas, like in the same kind of context, like in that world, if that's your intended purpose, Hondas would be good for that too. Like, I don't know, I'm not going to
Yeah, if
hate
you
on
have
them.
If you have a 250, 300 horsepower Honda, probably make an amazing track car.
Oh yeah, probably
You
would.
send one out that has 1,000 horsepower, it's going to be the worst track car you've ever driven.
Right. I mean, and that depends on what your track experience is, circuit track or
But of
drag
course.
racing or whatever.
There's going to be a handful of guys that
But
chime
different
in
tiers.
That, like,
Yeah.
maybe if you're just not a little bitch, you know how to drive.
Of course, right? So
There's
Elvis,
always
what do
gonna
you
be.
think? What do
I
you
don't
think?
know. Like, I'm thinking back to like cars that I've driven that are. I just recently got a BMW 328 XI. So it has an N52 engine. It was cheap. It's not fast per se, but it is also it has been reliable, knock on wood. Mine is not stick, but I know you could get those in stick. I don't know. And so I would honestly pick like a rear wheel drive. If you just want a fun track car, a rear wheel drive 328
yeah.
and that's it. Like, it only has 200 and something horsepower.
Almost any generation of 3 Series BMW
Yeah.
is going to
Makes
get
it
you into
Yeah.
that realm of like good, inexpensive fun.
And you can get
like,
it with
I'm down with that too because
Yeah.
I mean I had a again 6-speed, no, not even a 6-speed. I had a 3 Series BMW and E46 and it was
Yeah.
super fun. It was great.
Yeah, if you can get it with the LSD, even better, or you can just swap it in. But
We
it's
have
still
an
cheap.
E36 and we haven't been able to kill it.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
But
our
we're not trying to
E36.
jam a whole ton of power through it either. It's basically stock. I think it's got an intake and header on it, and the thing
Yep.
is unbreakable.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's a super, super inexpensive, very reliable so far at this point, and very fun. Not the fastest, but great. So, what's your purpose, right?
Yeah, pretty much what's your purpose?
for
Yeah.
that 5K range, if you want a solid, good car that's not dated, or let's say you can be 40 years old and driving,
Yeah.
you can't beat the BMWs.
BMW,
No,
man.
they're just good value, man.
It's good value. And then
Yeah.
once you get into the next range, then it opens up a little bit, but even still, I would say the Corvette's the best.
Yeah. Yeah, because one only thing that I think about when I think about BMWs, E36, 46, blah, 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 is that you kind of have to be a little bit more DIY sort of kind of person to do all the little troubleshooting and like fixing and re of parts. Because the parts that you can buy for those cars, I found in my experience, they're not that expensive. But you have to be able to do it yourself.
Are really expensive.
Yes, exactly. Like if you can do it on your own, it's a very inexpensive car to own and maintain, because the maintenance on it is actually pretty, few and far between. But when it needs to be done, it needs to be done. But if you're paying a BMW mechanic, buddy, get ready.
Good luck.
Yeah, it's going to cost you a mint.
Yeah.
Like Jack Hughes. Same as Mercedes.
Yeah.
Same thing. And it has to be stock. It has to be all these things, and they'll get you. And it becomes... That's why you're able to buy those cars so cheap.
So cheap, man.
Because
So
you go
cheap.
take it in, and it's like, oh, you need this many kilometer service. It's going to be $6,000. You're like, car's
Just
only
sell
worth
it.
$8,000. I'm going to sell it.
Yeah.
And then you can pick it up at a crazy deal.
Yeah, we see that all the time.
Yeah.
Cars, you see them on Marketplace or whatever, and you're like, why is it so cheap?
Yeah, you'll see like a 2012, 13, 14, 7 Series BMW.
Like
and it's like
$3 grand.
And you're like, oh man, that is a lot of car for like, I think a customer of ours bought like a 750 IL for like $5,200.
Yeah.
So funny.
Why? Because it had like a turbo oil feed line leak.
And then
at
where's the
dealership,
turbo?
It was like I think he said it was like an 18 to 20 hour re and re.
Yeah, because you have to take apart. Probably they're like buried
Wow.
inside.
It was like literally like a $40 part.
Yeah.
But 20 hours of labor at the dealership. So that's
Wow.
you're looking at like a $5,000-$6,000 bill.
So
that
that's
was
why
what
they
that
sold the car for
so
that
they sold
price.
it super cheap. He took it to some like independent mechanic, and the guy did it, because he'd done a few. He did it in like 8 hours, 9 hours, cost him $1,200.
Wow.
And then you get an amazing amount of car for a small amount of money. But yeah, that's why BMWs are what they are.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of things that are made to be really scary.
Yeah.
Like the Vanos pump.
Oh gosh,
Oh,
I hate
man.
that word so much.
Vanos is just
Oh.
immediately it's like $8,000.
Yeah.
But I
Hey,
think
motor
it's better.
swap.
Yeah. LS swap. That's
It's
why
better
it's-
now,
yeah.
but I mean,
Yeah.
that's why a lot of those cars were almost worthless.
Yeah.
Yeah. If what's your purpose, right?
Yeah.
What's your capabilities? A BMW platform, I believe, is just it's pretty high.
Glorious.
Up there. It's super, super good.
Yeah.
The chassis are so well designed.
Oh my god.
That
yes.
like it like lends itself really, really heavily in my mind to like engine swaps like instantly. Can't be bothered with all that BMW stuff. Throw a fucking LS in it. Problem solved.
With that said, I think that's it. Anything else we want to add? No?
Yeah.
I don't
Perfect.
think so.
Yeah.
I don't know if we
Fast,
addressed
cheap,
the
and
topic.
reliable
I
all
think so.
together. It's a tough one.
Yeah.
It's a tough one.
And also, again, it's all relative.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
what your version of reliability is.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And,
and what you're using it for.
exactly.
Yeah.
And what your budget is too. So
Yeah. I mean, there's a whole bunch of examples of cars out there, and I'm sure people will make all kind of references in the comment section.
yeah. If you have any, let us know, because
Yeah.
I would like to know. Another one probably is that I've known that has been cheap to run and use. My Genesis. It's a 2009 Genesis sedan with a 5-liter V8, I think.
Yeah.
And it has been glorious. It has about almost 400 horsepower, or I think maybe more. I don't know. But
Man, you use that thing as a tow vehicle.
yes.
To tow
Have like
another car.
400,000 kilometers. on it.
Yeah.
And
it
I've
has, like-
actually seen you do several burnouts with that thing,
Yep.
like on the limiter, cooking tires. So I mean, I never even really think about that, but like those cars are pretty. They're pretty stout.
Towed a car towed one of my Jags from the States to Canada, when I moved thousands of miles. It's still fine. I have abused that car. I got it for $1,500 from
That blows my mind.
auction. But I was just like, I got it by mistake, and I was like, oh, I don't know. This looks
Okay.
like a V8. It's a V8. It's a rear-wheel drive car. Might as well.
We've done stuff like that before in the
But
past too.
it has been one of the best one of the best things that I've bought, honestly. And now I could technically, like, if it's written off, it's worth like 10 to 15 grand now. So that's also a good one. And it has, about almost 400,000 kilometers on it. And it's perfectly
I would
fine.
say that's reliable.
I would say that checks that box. 100%.
So,
Yeah.
just change oil normally. That's it. And it's AC. It's comfortable. It has heated and cooled seats. It's glorious.
I'd say one of the coolest things in the whole car game, and it probably, again, is like we all react probably in the same way, is if you're, say, 5 hours from home and you see a custom car out on the highway, it's like, that's what you should strive to be. Strive to be that guy.
Yeah.
He's the guy, because every time you see it, you're like, oh shit,
No.
it's not something you expect.
No.
And that's kind of like a reflection of the custom car world.
Yeah.
It's like, you're like, you shouldn't be surprised
Yes.
to see somebody out that far using their stuff with that level of confidence.
Yeah.
And that's what needs to change in the industry, is like, we need to get more of it out there doing more things better.
Yeah, I
rather than
agree.
this 20, 30 kilometer round trip stuff. That is not reliable, and that's not where we should be.
That is not acceptable.
I have the solution. Body swap.
Oh, come on. Elvis. Yo.
Body swap your classic car.
Yeah.
And then it'll be glorious, reliable, awesome. That's what I'm doing with my Mark II Jaguar. Putting the BMW chassis underneath. Glorious.
There you go.
Yes.
Problem solved.
You heard it here.
We're still waiting to see where that falls in the triangle.
I know.
When you draw the circles, I want to know where that ends
Yeah.
up.
Right now,
Circles of intersection.
it's still moving right now.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, see you guys next week. Bye.